Welcome to Behind the Investigation. I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe with Atlanta News First Investigates and Atlanta News First Plus. I'm joined now by Harry Samler from Better Call Harry. What a coincidence that that's what it's called.
Isn't it a coincidence?
Where did we get
Brendan?
that name?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm going into like my 8th year doing that under that name now. So it's been fun.
You know, I want to come back as Harry Samler in my second life if there is such a thing. Well, the only reason is because you actually get to solve things for people and you get to make the world a better place, and that's what I aspire to do in my investigative reporting, but yours is really focused on not just consumers but also safety, and this story really is important in terms of, you know, the company you choose to do business with may not be the company that ends up delivering, and that it could actually be a safety issue in your home even when you go to a big name, like in this case, Lowe's.
Right, and I want to be clear about this. It's not just Lowe's. All the big box stores, they're all subcontracting these deliveries, as far as we know, the majority of them. Well, I'll keep it there. The majority of them now subcontract so that when this truck pulls up, it doesn't have the big logo on there. It might be a Ryder truck that somebody's running that started a business that's working for this company, and they're responsible for the delivery and the installation if you choose to have something installed, like a gas stove.
A gas stove. So you may have someone installing a gas stove who isn't a plumber and doesn't know how to properly connect a gas line to a stove, correct?
Right, and most people don't think about it. You think, well, okay, I'm going to go to Lowe's and I'm going to buy a gas stove, and yeah, of course I want it installed. I don't know how to install gas, but the story kind of evolved. It originally started about a problem that she was having with a refrigerator, but she also bought a stove, so she bought 2 appliances. But the question came up, okay, who's doing this installation, and are they qualified to work with something that is highly explosive? And if you don't do it right, this is one of the things that could happen.
Right, and she said before Better Call Harry, better call 911. Right?
That's correct. Yeah. She had to call 911.
It was not installed properly.
Here's a great way to celebrate your new gas stove.
DeKalb County Emergency 911. What's the address of your emergency?
I smell gas.
Okay.
I bought a stove today, a gas stove, and I think maybe they didn't hook it up correctly.
Ann and Leon Guy did not expect their purchase to cause so much trouble. They bought 2 appliances from Lowe's, a gas stove and a new fridge. Refrigerator number 1 never made it through the front door.
They took the old one out first.
And then the new one was damaged.
The new one was damaged, so they couldn't bring it in.
But the new gas stove was good, so the delivery guys brought it in and hooked it up. This begs the question. No, wait, it screams. What qualifications do the delivery guys have to mess around with natural gas? Atlanta Gas Light requires natural gas contractors for the install, and if you type in a zip code, it will find one for you. Master plumbers also qualify. Subcontracted delivery guys do not. Lowe's, like a lot of big box appliance stores, subcontracts its deliveries. A half hour later, Ann and Leon smelled the leak.
You could smell the fumes from the gas all throughout the house.
Are you still inside?
I'm still inside.
Okay, I do need you to leave the building immediately.
The couple evacuated until DeKalb County Fire shut off the gas. Just by coincidence, the same thing happened to one of Ann's friends, but she waited more than a week.
I ended up having to call Atlanta Gas Light because I could smell gas, and I had to wear 2 masks at night to sleep. And the final thing was I had to call 911.
Ann and Leon say the same delivery company came back and reconnected the stove properly. They offered $600 for their trouble. But what about the fridge? They brought a second fridge all dinged up, fridge number 3 damaged, and this is fridge number 4. The doors are slightly off.
You say fix the doors. You say give us our money back. Is there a middle ground here?
Yes, there is.
This is the refrigerator I picked out, the LG.
Lowe's told Ann to go back to the store, and they let her pick out a more expensive fridge an LG for nearly $1,400.
Are you satisfied with the response now that we've gotten involved?
Yes, very much so.
And here's a summary of Lowe's response. The safety and satisfaction of our customers is Lowe's top priority, and we apologize. We are pleased that the matters have been resolved to both customer satisfaction. Lowe's requires all third parties to be compliant with all applicable laws. Lowe's wouldn't tell us whether its subcontracted delivery companies use licensed contractors to install gas appliances. The takeaway here for everyone is simple. If someone comes into your home and they're not licensed, do not hire them. You can go to Atlanta Gas Light on their website. We'll put a link on ours, and they will provide a contractor for you.
Yeah, Lowe's has actually been responsive to, we've been in touch back and forth, and they are working on a resolution, or, well, we have the resolution here, but what's the resolution moving forward for these types of deliveries and making sure that the installer is someone who's qualified to work with natural gas? And I expect that we'll get that from them. They've been transparent, they've been open, and we're really happy with the way that this story turned out, and the couple's happy as well. But at the end of the day, for anybody out there, because at some point we're all going to need a fridge, we're all going to need a stove, and if you have a gas stove, you just want to make sure that the people who are installing this stuff know what they're doing.
So should you ask when you're, I mean, if I'm buying the stove or the refrigerator at any one of these big box stores, should I ask who does your delivery? I mean, how do we vet that, and why is it our responsibility to vet this big corporation's delivery service?
You know, that's a really good question. And the answer may be when you ask them, they're like, well, we subcontracted out to so-and-so. I mean, if you can get the name of the delivery company, if they have a specific delivery company, I mean, if you want to do what I would do and call up that delivery company and say, okay, so you're going to come and install something that's a gas stove that's explosive. What are your qualifications to do that?
They just love you, Harry, don't they?
Yeah, what's your insurance? And can I have proof of insurance? And if something goes wrong, are you guys paying? Is Lowe's paying? Is Home Depot paying? Is Best Buy? Whoever. You know, those are questions I would ask. Most people don't think about that. But you know what? At a minimum, before anything comes off the truck, Brendan, you want to inspect every inch of it. Like the refrigerator, she went through 4 different refrigerators. Don't let anything come into your home before you inspect it, every inch. And if there's a problem, take a picture of it, and then ask them what their qualifications are. And if you're not comfortable with it, and they're like, well, we do this all the time, that ain't good enough. You work with gas? No, I'm sorry.
I want to ask you an interesting proposition. So I've tipped these drivers before, and sometimes I've done it up front. Is that something you would do to sort of grease the machinery? I mean, if you're spending $1,000 on a new refrigerator, what's $20 to the driver when they show up? Do you think that might help?
Sometimes it does. I will say that it helped with me once, that I had an experience with a delivery driver who showed up, and I was thinking that they worked for this particular big box store. It was not Lowe's in this case, but once again, they were not nice at first, Brendan. And they weren't going to remove the stove that I was replacing. It was an electric stove. And I finally said to the guy, I'm like, look, what's it going to take to get this done? I tipped him $20. We worked it out. He hauled it away, even though it wasn't on the order. And it went well. It didn't start well, but it ended well. I think that, the tipping thing is up to you, but generally, look, $20 couldn't hurt.
Now, let me flip this whole story on its head, because one of the things has to be market pressure. I know when I go to buy a large ticket item, whether it's furniture or an appliance, and they say, well, here's how much the delivery is going to cost. When they say it's $75 for delivery, and I balk at that, and I want them to take that off, and sometimes you can negotiate that delivery fee off. And some people even offer free delivery. Mm-hmm. The problem is the market is demanding as low a delivery cost as possible. Is that then forcing these retailers to cut costs on behalf of the customer because they know their profit margins are so thin, sometimes 3%, that they can't afford to eat a more expensive delivery cost. So in other words, are you getting what you're paying for? And in some cases, you're not paying for it.
You know, I think at this point we can only speculate on something like that. I think it's going to differ different companies. I know we had a delivery issue with that we did a story several months back with Rooms to Go, and once again they subcontracted to a delivery company, and there was damage inside of the house, and it was like, well, what is Rooms to Go paying the delivery company? I mean, you know, was it a free delivery? How much? And I don't believe they paid anything. I think it was a free delivery on that one. But I really think at this point, here's what's reasonable for you as a consumer is to follow that advice and to ask the question at least, and find out what the qualifications are before they bring anything into your home.
And I know you're not a lawyer, but who is liable? I mean, is it?
You got to read their contracts.
Okay, all right. So just because Lowe's, for example, in this case, sent those delivery people and hired them, they may not be responsible for what those delivery drivers do?
You have to look at the agreement. You know, you have to take a careful look at the agreement and see who's responsible. In a case like this, like if it had been a really worst case scenario and there'd been an explosion, I'm not a lawyer, but my guess is you'd probably be suing both.
Interesting. Very good point. Remind everyone your email address for us if you want to send tips to Better Call Harry.
It's Brendan dot.
No.
It's better.
Better Call Harry.
It's Better Call Harry at WANF.com.
That's Better Call Harry at WANF.com. Don't write it down if you're driving, listening to our podcast, because you can get this as a podcast wherever you stream your podcasts. Otherwise, you can get more information at AtlantaNewsFirst.com or on the Atlanta News First app. For Harry Samler and Better Call Harry, I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe.